Tom Giordano on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. Tom Fitton, we can't get enough of when he comes on. Judicial Watch does more bang for the buck than anybody out there. And I know right now they're involved in things like big tech and what they're doing, but also Tom has been out there talking about Maxine Waters. Judicial Watch referring them or trying to get the Ethics Committee to take a look at that. He's with us here on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Tom, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate the good word, Dom. Thanks for having me.
Well, this stuff with big tech, I'm thinking about, I haven't seen Judicial Watch on this yet. It's pretty fresh stuff. Somehow or another, a subdivision of the post office is out there spying on conservative Americans almost exclusively on social media, then spreading that across the rest of the government.
Well, this is kind of the extension of the targeting of Trump. It was about Trump, obviously, particularly, but the principle was about targeting your political opposition and breaking the rules because you don't like their politics or you fear their views. And in the case of the Biden administration and the deep state, they decided to spy on everyone, it seems. So you've got the post office spying on Americans, according to a report, in a broad way, not on any issues related to mail fraud, just because about their participation in the political process. And you've got the Biden administration refocusing and rejiggering quite explicitly their intelligence resources, which are designed to protect us against foreign threats, to target their internal political opposition. At least that's my interpretation of what's going on. And it's a danger to our Republican form of government. And it's an extension of what happened to Trump. And now what everyone was worried about, the targeting of Trump, they should worry about the targeting of themselves.
Yeah, and the post office, given how bad it's been with service, et cetera, Tom, and you guys have exposed this, how many why does this post office need a special office with all this? They're going to get into trouble is what happens when you have enough people put there with enough money that are away from the direct purpose of that government agency. It always results in some kind of misspending at best, or privacy rights. Something like that usually happens.
Yeah, they're always thinking of new things to do, even though they're probably not doing their original mission all that well. It's beyond the kind of the political and abuse issues we're talking about. It's just government doing what government does, which is getting bigger at the expense of our civil liberties.
Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton with us. The biggest issue for us, Tom, we do this Facebook Live with authors and stuff like that. The biggest response we had 3 women on this week about critical race theory in Virginia, plus here locally. And I know Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit on behalf of David Flynn, fired from Massachusetts high school football coach, for speaking out about critical race theory.
Well, that's right. They were propagandizing in his daughter's 7th grade ancient history class. And he and his wife objected, and quite carefully and respectfully, but they objected. And a few months later, he was fired, and it's pretty clear it was in retaliation for his objections. So we filed a federal civil rights lawsuit up in Massachusetts. We have a case scheduled conference, a federal court hearing on it on Monday. This is a big issue, and to me, it's an issue that ought to unite Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, because you have these radical extremists who are propagandizing to our children about attacking America, racial separatism, and targeting people based on race, and telling kids that if they're of a different color, particularly if they're of the wrong color, they are bad. And that should be objectionable to all fair-minded Americans.
Well, when you
besides raising legal issues.
Sure. And when you have a president, though, Joe Biden the other day, who had a chance at a semi-unifying moment after the big verdict, say that America is systemically racist. Translation, we're a racist country. Tom, you probably saw this, but I don't know if listeners have. he's now offering grants to school districts and others to encourage more teaching of so-called critical race theory.
Yes, what they're trying to do is leverage government spending and to increase and germinate further this anti-American, racialist, racist propaganda. They want to destroy America, and the way they do that is by undermining the foundations of America, by attacking it as fundamentally racist, which is a smear. They're attacking the police, which is a smear. It undermines the public safety. And for the President of the United States to say his country is fundamentally evil, because when you say you're systematically racist, you're saying you're systematically evil. Then why is he president? Shouldn't he resign and stay outside the system?
Yeah, look, rather than preside over it. Yes,
it's not only incoherent, it is antagonistic to our constitutional republic to suggest that our institutions are inherently evil.
You
then
said something, Tom there, important to me that frosts me. You're exactly right. It's incoherent, too. The only bottom line is we know that he's going to use government to enforce these things, but even as perverted as these things he wants to do are, he's even incoherent in espousing them, which is maddening at the same time.
It's coherent when you hear it from a revolutionary communist.
Right.
You understand. That's what they want to destroy the country. They're revolutionaries. We understand that, and they should be, fought, in the public square as such. But to have a president echo the revolutionary rhetoric of those who would undo the American experiment, it's a crisis like we haven't seen in modern American history.
I would say, and you guys were involved with all kinds of things intergovernment, this is worse than anything President Obama was fully engaged in. Not that his instincts weren't toward this, but Obama's rhetoric did not match what Joe Biden is saying, I don't think.
No, I mean, he was politically very careful to kind of back away, generally speaking, from the more extreme rhetoric. I said some of the things he said were pretty awful, but he understood some of the more extremist rhetoric and policy was not appropriate in the current political system he was running at the time. Biden and his team, because I think Biden faces significant cognitive issues, so there are big issues there. But his team has decided that they can get into bed with the revolutionaries, and the Democratic Party now has this kind of there's this fight within the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party have their own separate issues, but there's this fight within the Democratic Party between the corrupt corporatist wing, which I think that Biden represents, certainly given his personal corruption, and the rising communists. And the rising communists are ascendant, and the corrupt corporatist wing, and it's not even Democratic Party, it's almost generally culturally, are condoning and basically getting to bed with the rising revolutionaries.
That's the word. I think that's the watchword. That's what we're looking at here. Even if it's stumbling, bumbling in some ways, that's exactly what's going on. How do we support Judicial Watch? How do we find what you're up to? Thank God, because as much as I follow this, Matt Dan told me about David Flynn. I forgot about that, and that's critical. That's quite a reach for Judicial Watch. We usually think of you guys with, say, Hunter Biden emails or corruption in some government agency. Are you branching out a little bit more with this critical race theory case?
But it's fundamental to our mission because it's a rule of law mission. This is a violation of his rights. It's an abuse by government officials, and they're targeting not only David Flynn, the high school football coach, but kids.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's crisis after crisis where our republic is tottering, Dom. Our border is collapsing. Biden's refusing to enforce the law there. There's this war on the police. There's this war based on race run by the left. Our institutions are under attack. They're trying to blow up the Supreme Court. This is a crisis. So people should go to our website, judicialwatch.org. We're all over. We're investigating and suing where we can. Others are concerned about it too, but we should be demanding leadership. We're providing it at Judicial Watch. We need the politicians to defend the country, defend the republic, at least rhetorically.
Exactly right. Hey, Tom, thank you very, very much for what you do each and every day. We're motivated every time you come on. Thank you, Tom.